I think I'm saying that we struggle all our lives to answer it. That it's the struggle that is important. That's what helps us to define our place in the universe.
This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly Crusher. Honest.
Forceful.
Trusting.
Brilliant.
Strong.
And adventurous.
And this is Crusher Convo. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Crusher Convo, where we are crushing the conversation one episode at a time. And the prophets have shined down on Jay, and he is here with us today. No hurricane. I hear it's sunny over there in Canada.
Yes. Well, I mean, not in all of Canada, I'm sure, but my area at least. Yes,
in your little section, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, last week was interesting for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of rain. It was crazy.
A lot of rain.
So, yeah.
At least you got to join us, so that's what's
important. Yeah, I got to I did what I could in the chat, so
well, it worked. It worked out perfectly. So, and I know the Sci-Fi Remnant was here as well, so that was a lot of fun last week, especially as we were talking about Beverly Crusher.
Yeah, it's nice to have other people chiming in.
I know, so excited. Well, as you can see here, we are going to be talking about episode 11 through 15 of season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy, and I'm super excited about this one because this is where, as you can see under my name, Beverly's back. So, yay! I can't wait to get into that episode. But of course, we have to get into the fact that they found Chakotay on the last one. So let's go ahead and see a clip of, believe it is the last flight of the Protostar. So let's get that going.
To protect the Federation, we stranded ourselves on this island so the weapon on board that ship never falls into hands like hers.
When's not like the other Valnicott.
And that weapon? Relax. We already set it off.
You what?
Easy. We blew up our ship.
You mean my ship?
No, the one we found. We saved the Federation.
But the Valnicott weapon on board...
Starfleet already knows. They're ready. It's not a threat anymore.
That's why we're happy to see Hologram Janeway. I can't wait to get back and tell Admiral Janeway about this.
For all those JC fans, this was a good episode.
Oh, for sure.
As a Crusher fan, I was overjoyed for JC fans. Though one thing that we have talked about, as everyone knows, Jay was in my Tuvix episode, which we will talk a little bit later on. But the thing is that we always had said that Chakotay was very one-dimensional, right? There was just kind of this one-way street with Chakotay. And not that that was a bad thing in certain Voyager episodes, but it also didn't help in certain episodes like Tuvix, right? So I think with this episode specifically, Chakotay was this was a side of Chakotay we've never seen, right?
Yeah, I think Robert Beltran got to shine a little bit in this episode and flesh out Chakotay. It's sad to say that about a character that had 7 full seasons, but flesh him out a little more and give us something.
But at least he got it at some point, right?
Yeah, that's true. I've talked to you about my opinions on Chakotay's character. You're absolutely right. He was very one-dimensional, and I think that's just the writers didn't do much with him. But rewatching some of Voyager lately, I've stopped for a bit, but I'm going to get back to it. But I feel like this show now, going back and watching Voyager, I'm getting more of an appreciation for Chakotay, and I'm kind of noticing a little the nuanced stuff that that Beltran was trying to kind of put into the character, but never really went anywhere.
I don't think he really got the opportunity because there really wasn't a lot for the character itself to really shine in a lot of ways. Like, I've already just done 2 episodes of Sub Rosa, one on here and one on Green Shirt that I just taped. And the thing is that as much as there was issues with that episode, Gates was able to really just bring it, right? I don't think Robert had that opportunity to bring it for Chakotay because it just wasn't written that way. Here it was written like he was a broken character. Before I continue that, I really like seeing these characters that we do adore in a bad spot. They're broken. They're out of their luck. No hope. They're just like, whatever. And it's nice to see them kind of just fall from grace.
It's like way to bring down the room.
Well, I just like have them fall from grace because in the sense of then you get to see them shine in a different way.
I knew what you meant.
No, I know. But I mean, it's been one of those days, man. If I'm going down, I'm taking y'all with me. But but they did that with Beverly in season 3. She went through hell.
Yeah.
Was at this point of like, I'm going to kill to protect my son. I'm done. You know, she was just a broken character. And so this is what we saw. And of course, since he had been alone for so long, he didn't know how to work with the team. And here's these kids being all like, we know what to do, you know, and this was the overall like start of Chakotay's arc of redemption and coming back.
One thing that I think they really captured really well is, again, I know it's animation, but like the look on his face when the kids are saying like, oh, we can do this, we can do that, we can get you out of here, we can contact Janeway. And he's got this look on his face like he never thought he was getting off that planet. Like he thought that was it. Like he had accepted,
made peace.
Yeah, I'm dying here. This is where I'm going to live out the rest of my days. And you could see on his face like that realization kind of sink in that he's going to get to go home and see someone specific.
See once, yeah, exactly. I mean, he's just had the hollow version of her this whole time. Yeah. Now he gets the real version. Now, I think also with the loss of a Drake, who was his first officer, that was, what did Hollow Janeway say? She said, he's a captain that lost his crew. Right? It's one of those, as a doctor, you have the do no harm oath. Right? As a captain, it's I go down with the ship.
Yeah.
Like my crew goes off safely. I am the last one to stay here. And the fact that he didn't even get that option to be the last one to stay with the ship to save his crew. It was like his crew was just plucked away and taken from him one by one. And he didn't even have a chance to even protect them. And with the Drake, as much as he had, you know, I don't know if it was just the type of, because he's a bird, I don't know, that just kind of rough personality, but he had faith to try and help Chakotay and give him faith, and he ended up dying for it. Like he sacrificed himself for Chakotay. So, you know, that was very interesting and very sad. And like you said, I think Robert really was able to sink his teeth into these scenes, because when they found a Drake, when they were looking for Dal, it was Chakotay's way of like, it's not about me anymore. You know, I get to be that captain to save my crew.
Yeah.
I mean, so all of that combined was just one really big moments. And just, I think this episode's only like 23 minutes or something. So there was a lot to unpack.
Yeah, for sure.
So was there anything here, like I remember Dal just being rude, maybe he was frustrated. You know, Gwen of course had that positive attitude. Janeway, as being a hologram, I guess she was just all like, I trust these kids. Was there anything here that really stuck out to you while Chakotay was going through all this?
No, you know what? To be honest, when I watched it, I was so focused on Chakotay and kind of how he was responding to all of it that, to me, that's what stands out the most. But I do think we start to see Dal in this episode, because it's the next episode he really starts to come to terms with the fact that maybe he's not captain material, right?
Correct. Yes.
At least not yet.
At least not yet.
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see him start to realize that a little bit this episode, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Because I think for him, Dal was just because he saw his future, right? He looked in that stream when he was with Wesley and saw that's what's tricking himself a little bit. I don't think he would have been doubting his abilities if he didn't see that, which that is why Wesley was like, no one likes spoilers. Like, don't see it. It messes with you. You might make the wrong decision that you weren't supposed to do because you had a glimpse of the future. So it's one of those things that it's just kind of, this is also Dal's arc, which I believe in this next one is when we see Dal and Chakotay have a conversation, and that would be in the next episode. Now, I do have Instagram open right now, live, and we have John here who says Chakotay took a sad back seat when Seven took over as Janeway's favorite in the writer's room. I agree. Not gonna lie. I think when they introduced Seven was kind of all over the place, right? Janeway, the Doctor, even Paris, like she was kind of being, even B'Elanna, that, I think Chakotay did get a backseat a little bit because they were kind of focusing on Seven. And then it was like, let's give Chakotay a story. Let's pair him with Seven. Like that was like their only option, and it made no sense. So I think that is an absolute truth to that. And then we also have Ryan joining us. Now, I will say real fast, Ryan, he is a writer. He wrote a stunt script, and it is on Stunt Scripts right now, and it's called Star Trek Oath, and it is about Beverly Crusher. And I will load the link later down below, and you guys will be able to click on it and go read it. It is awesome. I was very excited when I read it. I was like, this has to be a TV show.
That's cool.
So hello, Ryan. Thank you for joining us. So let's get into, do you have anything else to say about this first episode, or should we go on to part two?
No, I like I thought it was a great episode. I love the Castaway feel a little bit.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good episode.
There was no Wilson, but
No. I feel like Adric was a little Wilson because he lost him.
Oh, well, that's
well,
that's just sad now.
Sorry, I just ruined your whole day.
Now you did. Thank you.
You said you were taking me down with you, and here we are.
There we are. I should have rethought that. Okay, so let's go on now to Last Flight of the Protostar, Part 2.
I twisted some arms at Starfleet Medical. She's surprisingly hard to track down these days.
Dr. Crusher. Been a while since the Shinzon incident. How is Jean-Luc?
Oh, it's been a while. Last I heard, he was busy with the Romulan evacuation. I've been told that's his priority. But I hear you've seen my son.
Yes. We recently had an encounter.
With Wesley? Has something happened? How is he?
He saved our lives, but seemed erratic. And he persuaded some of my cadets to embark on a mission they've yet to return from.
I wish I could offer some insight, but I haven't seen him in years. For a time traveler, I wish he had more time to spend with his mother.
Beverly! That was a good line. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was.
Whoever wrote that is a genius, because it's true. She's not wrong. So as I was binging this, I didn't mean to, but I was binging this, and I saw Wesley, of course, in the last 5 that we were just talking about. I was like, are they going to bring back Beverly? Is Beverly going to show up? I don't know what's going to happen. So when we have this little scene, the first thing that they're mentioning, Jean-Luc, right? And talk about tug on, it's freaking animation, but you hear in Gates's voice, like she made it depressing in a way, because she hears his name and she's just like, oh, and she's like, I hear that's his priority, and she's sad, and I'm just like stab. I think they did that really, really well. And then I just like how they're like, okay, we mentioned Jean-Luc, now let's get into the serious part, because that was the whole reason why she left. His priorities was not her, and that's why she had to protect Jack. but she hadn't seen Wesley, and we know this. And the movie, it doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. So literally, she hasn't seen him since Journey's End, and so to see her on screen, wondering what's going on with Wesley. And this is like the only interaction we have of Janeway and Beverly, so that was exciting. I don't know. I was thrilled. What was your reaction when you saw Beverly pop up on screen?
Her hair was incredible. I love the do in this. I like that. Usually animation they'll animate the characters so that they're very similar, right? So that people can see them right away. So you kind of expected, the mom
red
hair.
hair.
Yeah. And the way that they animated her hair in this, I thought was really good. It was nice to see that they show that evolution of Beverly over time and stuff, right? So but John in the chat, I see there at Instagram says, "Oi, call your mother Wesley."
Yes, thank you, John.
Yeah.
It's very true. And then he even said the Shinzon incident. Raya says, love how the animation also matches the voice acting so good, which is true. It's like if I was actually watching Gates perform this and it just tugged at your heartstrings. I noticed
that too with Wesley, like the way Wesley's animated, the timing and stuff with the voice acting is really good.
Was perfect. Yeah. Now I know of a few Bev heads who was not happy with the hairdo. And I think it was because when we saw Beverly with the white hair and the dark hair and stuff like that, that's supposed to be like 20 years later. This is really only supposed to be like 4 or 5. I think at this point, Beverly's like 61 years old because she was born in 23-24. So she would have been like 78 at the end of Picard. But so everyone's kind of like, why isn't it red with a streak? Like it's starting to go gray, right? Just kind of like how they did with Janeway. And I get it. I think that makes sense because it was only a few years since Nemesis. However, I was wondering, and this is kind of my theory, that maybe she changed her look so she wouldn't be as recognizable because she was trying to hide from Jean-Luc, right? She didn't want to be found. So she still has her bright red hair that he's used to. She would be found pretty easily, I think. And so maybe either she let her hair go gray or she dyed it and just so she changed, like she had the bangs and stuff like that, just so she wasn't as noticeable as before. I mean, yeah, some Starfleet people were going to see her and things like that, and that's not a big deal, but Picard wouldn't know what she looked like, right? So I think that might be the reason. That's the only thing I could think of.
That and also not everybody ages the same way.
Very true. And also, if you have a little boy, running around, that's going to make your hair go gray pretty quick. I'm just going to say. But no, I was very excited when I saw her on there. And of course, this was kind of the only scene that we see with Voyager. They're trying to recover from the whole Loom attack and stuff. And then they go back with Dal and Chakotay. Dal doesn't like taking orders. That's what I noticed. He was not pleased because Chakotay's the captain and Dal was so used to giving orders. He wasn't pleased with any of that. And of course, because he was not liking that he had to take orders, he was also not paying attention. So when they decided to make the Protostar into a sailing ship, he almost killed them all. He wasn't paying attention. So I just wonder if, like I said, if it's just because he saw the future that it was messing with his head a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's always kind of had a problem with authority, though, too, right? Like, the attitude is always kind of there, and I think that definitely just kind of pushed him over the edge a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Because then he also saw Gwyn, because Chakotay's like, Gwyn, take over, and she took charge, and that was exactly what he saw. And he's like, oh, my life is being ruined as we speak.
Well, I think like I said, it's he's coming to terms with the fact that he's maybe not the person that he thought he was quite yet. So
Hmm.
I think sometimes self-discovery can be a bit of a gut punch to a person, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think you're
Yeah.
seeing him kind of go through those stages of accepting that, which he clearly
Hmm.
does. I mean, obviously through the rest of the season, but I think you're
Yeah.
starting to see that disappointment that
Yeah.
he's not quite who he thought he was, and you know, I think the show does a really good job too of also showing that there's nothing wrong with that,
Right. Right.
right?
So right here, Ryan thinks that my hair theory is good. So thank you. And John says gray hair, hashtag blame Jack, which I mean,
We're all blaming Jack in the chat on
we're all blaming,
Instagram right
we're all
now.
blaming Jack right
I
now.
love Ryan's
And then
blaming the troublesome Picard kids.
it's all, so that's what it's not Jack. It's all Picard's fault.
Right.
That is where we're going to put the blame. Now, I do want to mention too that I did love the little scene between Dal and Chakotay when he was talking about his time on Voyager, right? Because he's all like, I wasn't the captain. I was the number one. I was the first officer. And he says, I try to find a family. I try to find discovery with the Maquis and all this stuff. And it wasn't until I stopped being the leader and went under someone is where I actually really found myself to be a leader that I needed to be. Right. I really enjoyed that conversation. And one of the great things about Dan, Kevin, and Aaron when they were writing all this is that they intertwined these stories of Voyager and TNG and got, DS9, all of it. They were able to, they didn't shoehorn it in. It was perfectly weaved in where it made sense, but it was also a nice little callback to what we enjoyed. And that is what I really enjoyed about this season. And they did this a lot in this season.
I think both Prodigy and Lower Decks do a really great job of paying tribute to the past Trek, like that fan service without it being too on the nose, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I know when they were, fighting the storm and things like that, and Chakotay falls over, Dal does prove himself by jumping in and saving Chakotay. And I also find it funny. It was like those eels that were like storm eels. I don't know, ion eels. I don't know what you want to call them, but he's like using them to like, let's go.
I love when Star Trek does like weird alien things that you don't, right? I mean, this is the franchise with the big green hand in space, and the big flower things that take down a Borg cube, right? So I love when Star Trek is always best when it's weird.
Even with the eels, though, the eels were kind of looking like, what are you doing? But, they helped him trek along. And the thing is that funny that you mentioned Picard, because I had a season 1 Picard vibe when I saw this, because right at that end when, Dal pulls out Chakotay, and there's this crew all around him. It reminded me at the end of season 1 of Picard when Picard died with Raffi and, and everybody, Soji was there. This was a different crew. This wasn't the crew that he called family, but this was a crew that cared for him and he cared for, and he was there with them. It was the same thing with Chakotay. This wasn't his Voyager crew, and this wasn't his Protostar crew, I guess you could say, but it was a crew nonetheless, and they were there for each other and they were helping each other. And I think that's what Chakotay needed to be reminded of. So I liked that little callback to that. And then of course they were able to fly out of there. But it was very interesting just to kind of see these little moments that we were seeing in the first 10 episodes, and now they're kind of coming to light, right? Like the whole Gwen and Dal thing. But Chakotay was being a very good teacher for Dal to kind of have him understand just what all that means. So
yeah,
I definitely enjoyed that. Was there anything about this episode that you enjoyed?
I mean, all of it, but I think Ryan in the chat, did have a did have a good comment there about the parallels between Gwen and Dal, and Janeway and Chakotay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was really well done.
No, that is very true. And Ryan also says, we're in Starfleet. Weird is part of the job. It's so true.
That's a Janeway quote, right?
I think so.
That's a Janeway quote. I think so.
Oh my goodness. I
hear it in
her
Kate
voice.
Mulgre's voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
with
yeah,
that smirk she gets that little smirk with the. Yeah.
Gosh,
it is Janeway. There, it's confirmed.
It's confirmed. The thing is, every single captain was different, but they all had their unique styles, and it was always like the perfect amount for whatever they were going through, like with Picard's TNG and, Cisco and DS9. Like, it was just, they were always able to do it just right. And the right amount of serious and the right amount of funny. And that's what always interested me about Star Trek, is that it could be both. Not like the TOS version where they're like, we all almost died. Half our crew's gone. But hey, let's crack a joke at the end. But that was just 60s television, right? That was just how they did it. So it didn't really surprise me that they would go down that route. But this next episode that we're going to talk about is not really a favorite of mine. But I guess we'll talk about it anyways.
You're a scientist, like me! These experiments are why those tribbles have gone so huge!
Watch your words, child, or they may be your last. Whoa, back up. A Klingon scientist. Don't run into many of those.
I am Dr. Karuvong, house geneticist for the Empire, sent by Chancellor Martok to find a way to defeat her ancient blood enemy, the Tribbles. Found a weakness in their DNA to slow their reproduction, but something went wrong. Now they are stronger, and I have lost my honor.
So, I don't know if this was intentional or maybe I'm reading into it. I don't know, but first, a Klingon threatens to kill a child. That's interesting. 2, Chakotay's all like, "Whoa, Klingon scientist. That's what do you say, unheard of or." Haven't heard very many of those. And it reminded me of Guinan when she was like, Ferengi scientist, and suspicions. Again, I don't know if that was a callback, but I'm going to take it.
And I do feel like the Klingon scientist comment's been made on another series before. Because I remember when I watched this and he said he was a scientist, and that popped into my head was that we don't see too many of them. And then Chakotay says that. So I feel like he was kind of all of us in that moment. Yeah. I just also really, really love the Klingons wearing a monocle. Like he's like Klingon Monopoly guy.
Exactly. Hey, he's got to be serious, right? I do love that Martok was mentioned. I'm not a Klingon fan. I do love some tribbles, but I'm not a huge Klingon fan, which is probably why I wasn't really into this episode. But Martok, I thoroughly enjoyed. I liked Martok. I thought he was an awesome character. So I like that he was mentioned. And then of course we're seeing Rock in a different light because she made a slight miscalculation and created a new species. It's not a big deal, but it was a cute little species. Was it needed? Probably not. This was more for the kids. But
I think so, but I think it was also about showing, like, because again, with kids in mind, it's about showing that, like, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you can't make a mistake, and
yes, or fix the mistake.
It's okay, and just move on and learn from it, right? So
well, because what ended up happening is she was so upset that she made this mistake, and at first she didn't even want to look at Bribble. She was like, and then she was like, oh, it's adorable, I'm gonna love it. Well, Bribble ended up saving their lives because it spoke Tribble-Lanese, so I'm just like
Tribble-Lanese, is that the
look
the official?
It's now canon. I'm not saying this right now.
Tribble-Lanese.
But the thing is, it's just that if she didn't make that mistake, they wouldn't have been able to survive about to be destroyed, right? I do want to say though, Zero already losing that body.
Yeah.
They that one over quick.
There was I mean, we all knew it was going to happen this season, but there was just a small part of
Right.
me that thought it would be a little longer, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hoped that they would have been, or I was even expecting that they would have found a way to preserve the body,
Right.
but that didn't
Right.
happen.
Like they get to the
I think,
doctor and they'll be able to
yeah,
to fix it. But I guess it was more of a way to say that everything's going to go your way. Like again, this with the kids in mind.
yeah,
Kids are going to be growing up and learning these life lessons. There was, and I'll say this real quick. One of my biggest issues, and sometimes in television, and when something really, really bad happens, and then all of a sudden a miracle, right? It's not realistic.
no,
And one thing that I did enjoy, because as everyone knows, I love Bones, the TV show, not the character. One of the main characters, and this is really a spoiler, but one of the main characters, after like 11 years on the show, there was 12 seasons, he basically broke his back. And at first it was like, oh no, he's fine. It will be fine. Well, no, he never walked again. Like it was a serious injury to the point of he's lost full function of his spinal cord and he'll never walk. And I kind of glad that they did that because it wasn't just a magic of television and everything was hunky-dory. And you had to see that character go through those changes of, I went from this scientist who's walking around to now all of a sudden having to make these changes, being in a wheelchair, the whole process. And I thought it was really, really done well. So we're seeing that with Zero right now, where they're like, I knew it was going to happen. I was just hoping it wasn't going to happen so soon. And now I have to go through the process of losing this body and all those feelings and stuff like that as I just had them. You know?
yeah. Like you said, it's a good life lesson. It's unfortunate that life tends to shower you with great things and then very quickly take it away.
Right.
And it's I think it's good, especially for a kids show, to kind of show that, to at least prepare you a little bit, I guess. But I mean, who are we kidding? There's adults that haven't learned these lessons yet either. So.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're still trying to learn those lessons.
Yeah.
I do. And then again, Klingon trying to kill a child. So as they're going through all this, and
that's like, also a good lesson for kids to learn, because at any moment a Klingon could try to kill you, right?
Klingon could pop out of anywhere, right?
You never know.
But here comes Rock, who she's like, nope, and they're all body slamming him, like Murph's coming over in this direction, and it was like, and Chakotay was over like, what the heck? But it was just so funny because it was like these children just ganged up on him and knocked him down because he was being an idiot. But and then of course, because her mistake saved them, Burble, then he does that the Klingon chant. And I was like, does he really deserve to do the Klingon chant? I'm kidding. I actually enjoyed the Klingon chant, and I liked that Rock joined in, and because she was all like, all right, I feel you. She was just like, I'm with you on this Klingon. And of course and then they made a star because that's easy. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I was all like, just like that. Let's just make a star, guys, so we could get out of here.
Right.
Which is what they need.
It had to go at the speed of plot, right? So.
Exactly. Very quick. I do real quick before we get in the next episode. They mentioned the retrovirus, which of course has been mentioned all over Star Trek, but it was mentioned in Genesis because that Nurse Ogawa, is baby saved the day while Data made the retrovirus to make everyone back from, an animal, whatever species they were, back to human. So I love those little callbacks because it makes sense.
Yeah.
So Ryan does say that my Tribble knees is now canon. So thank you. But John says Tribble-ish, which is that's actually not bad. And Ryan also says, for a kid's show, Prodigy deals with some heavy emotions, which is great. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I think I probably prefer this episode better than that. What was that one? The
with the
Fast and the
Kazon.
Curious. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you didn't really like that one.
I didn't care for it. No.
Yeah, I mean,
For Bribble's sake, I would watch this one again.
I don't think a lot of people really liked the Kazon. I know my opinion differed from somebody else's in the chat last week, where I said it was actually nice to see a Kazon character in kind of a different light, kind of playing a different role than what we saw in Voyager all the time. But I think for this episode, though, I think the last thing I would have to say about it is it's clearly the slow it down for a second, lighten the mood episode.
Yeah,
probably thrown in there to help control pacing a little bit.
A filler. It's a filler.
I think this show sneakily is kind of it was moving pretty quick. There's a lot happening in the first half of the season, right? So
yeah,
it needed an episode to kind of tone it down. You know, and we love Rock. I love seeing her get all excited over science,
Over
right?
science.
So
Yeah.
right, and she gets so excited, and she gets
so
love
excited.
It. Yeah.
Oh, I want Rock to meet Beverly Crusher because, well, she got excited meeting Wesley. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're Wesley Crusher!" Like, it's like, oh, I heart this character so much. Now, of course, this next episode, this was a lot of fun, and to kind of harken back to what you were just saying 5 seconds ago, this Tribble episode was to slow it down because this next one made it go really, really fast.
From the Protostar, we beamed aboard Deck 9 to a reality where Janeway went through the wormhole.
Then we took the turbo lift up to sickbay on Deck 8 to a reality where we didn't stop the Protostar from destroying the Federation.
2 realities, both connected to what we did and didn't do.
If we follow that pattern, every deck could be a new reality.
Why is this only happening to us?
We created the anomaly. It must be tied to our quantum signatures.
Perhaps we can use the deflector dish. Create a broad spectrum warp field with an inverse tachyon pulse and...
Yes! That would seal the rift and untangle this mess we're in.
I don't know what you're saying, but I like the way you're saying it.
I really like Dal. I really like him. I honest to God, I would say shit like that, so I think that's why I laugh the hardest when he says stuff. I don't know what you're saying, but I like the way you're saying it. Right?
But I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea what you're talking about. Well, let's go for it. I just, there was so much happening in this episode because first it's like, we're going back home. He cleans himself up. He's like, let's go see Janeway. I shaved I shaved my face. And then all of a sudden it was like, there's, what's his name? His name escapes me. The Admiral, Jellicoe. Here's Jellicoe coming in. And then all of a sudden they go on the turbo lift and they're completely somewhere else where everyone dies and they see Okana. And then, of course, I think it was Zero and Rock who find Captain Tuvix. And it was like, all of a sudden, it was just like, what is going on? So real fast, because the Captain Tuvix was 2 seconds. How do you think Tuvix survived? Do you think he just ran away because Janeway did save him? I mean, how do you think that happened? How do you think that timeline went through?
I think what happened was the scene where he's pleading for his life on the bridge. I think they all stopped being a bunch of douchebags and actually listened to him.
I can see it.
Yeah.
They're like, this is where Chakotay would be like, no, we cannot do this. Then that's where last time it was like, I don't know you.
He's like, we were like
a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say we were just last scene. We were just playing pool with this guy. I'm not gonna kill him now.
Yeah,
right?
He's like, he's a good pool player. I'm not losing my friend. Yeah.
No, this guy owes me money. He can't. he can't be killed.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's just it. This whole thing was just like everywhere. And then we have Okana, he's just in the video, he's just collecting stuff. Like you hear the dinging of him dropping it while we're trying to plan to get out of here. And he's just like, huh? What's going on? I do enjoy the fact that they brought Okana back because it was, he was just this one-hit wonder in TNG, but he was
Such an
kind of a funny
unlikely
guy.
character to make a return. I like
I
Ryan in the
know.
chat is kind of comparing him to Mud, to Harry Mudd a little bit. He's
Oh,
the
that's
TNG Harry
true.
Mudd for sure. Which I will
Mhm.
say, whether you like or dislike Discovery, I think that Rainn Wilson played a fantastic Harry Mudd. I loved that kind of
That version of
interpretation of the
him.
character. Yeah.
I have not seen that yet, but I will get
Yeah.
there. I promise.
It's
Now, Ryan,
season one episode with Harry Mudd was the one where they he keeps kind of putting them in a time loop. It was a very Star Trek episode. I really enjoyed it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Ryan did say Dal is all of us in that situation. Yeah, for sure. But one great thing about this episode was for the JC fans. We see some evil Chakotay and some evil Janeway going on. She's wearing some Seven Borg eyepiece there, and
I
they're
like that they don't
fixed
even
up.
address or explain that at all.
Yeah,
She just has
it's just
it
there.
and it's there. Let's go.
It's
Let's
just
move on.
there. Let's go for
Yep.
it. I really liked this, and I'm glad that they did the mirrored universe part because we really didn't get a lot of it. We got a lot of it in DS9, obviously. Never saw it with TNG.
And
But
you have not seen Discovery.
I have not seen Discovery.
I'll be honest, I think the mirror universe is starting to become like the Borg. Overdone on.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like Section 31. Like it's enough.
We're done.
But I think it was done well in this episode. I remember thinking, oh God, here we go. But you get it's quick. It's not a long episode, right? You're not getting it for an hour or 2 hours with the two-parter. So I think it's just enough of a kind of a flavor of the mirror universe, and then then everything goes back to normal by the end. But
and everything goes back.
And we never really we'd never seen mirror Janeway, right? So that was that was a bit of a different different. I think we see her in, if you play Star Trek Online, I think there's mirror Janeway in that, and possibly in some comics and novels, but never in canon, right? Which is just neat to see.
Yeah.
But
I think in this case, like you said, it was quick. It was fun. There was a lot going on. I did like how when it was time for the agony booth, and he's like, I'm going to go for the cute one. And at first Murph is like trilling and scared and all this stuff. And then it just goes, like just completely karate chopping evil Chakotay. And he's like, and then good Chakotay is all like, never trust the cute one. So I think, and then I'm escaping and then being found, of course, the whale. Okay, this one was funny. Where he's like, even the whales are evil because it was all hair of the Terran Empire. I mean, they did not miss a beat with everything that was going on. And then even at the very end, where all of a sudden, as they got caught with evil Janeway and evil Chakotay, and they're trying to get out, but they're trying to explain, like, hey, you see those monsters like eating through the time and space, like that's going to kill us all. So if you want us to survive, you're going to have to stop this and get and help us, which she did. She was like, we're not friends, but let's figure this out. So I don't
unlikely
know.
allies, I guess. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like I said, this was action-packed, a lot of fun. It was great to see. I think it was definitely for the JC fans.
Well, and you know what? It gave another reason for Kate Mulgrew to show how she can play badass Janeway so well, right?
Yeah. Oh, I would love a mirror Beverly. Now, Ryan did say here in the chat, he says, I want Rain to return on Strange New Worlds. And also said that, and we get the Chakotay line, I would never hurt you, so worth the mirror trip. which is true, because we don't know the history of Chakotay and Janeway between, the little flashback of him going off being the captain from when they left Voyager, right? They could still be friends. I don't know. Or more. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And of course, they made it back and they were reunited. There was no Jellicoe. It was Janeway. And what I like about it too, it wasn't all like tears and hugging and all that stuff. She's like, "What's on your face?" She starts laughing because they had this fake beard of oil. So Janeway.
Yeah. Because, well,
Love it.
if you're evil in the mirror universe, you have to have a goatee.
You have to have a goatee, exactly.
It is Star Trek that invented that trope, by the way. You have
true.
the goatee. Yeah, you have it's because of
Yeah.
Spock. Yeah. So that famous trope everybody knows, Star Trek.
Thanks, Star Trek. I don't know. It's fun. It's funny to me.
It is.
All right. This last one, of course, was Ascension Part 1. So we get Part 2 in this next one. And this is where all hell starts to break loose.
Put it through.
Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Iltheron.
Stella. Oh, bless the stars. You're all right. I'm not too late.
This is Voyager. Is something wrong? Do you need assistance?
It's Essentia. She's assumed power. Too much power. And now a war is coming for you.
What's happened?
The Council is no more. Essentia's harnessed new technology I've never seen, building military forces at an unfathomable rate.
No.
So I love her dad in this season. He was such
The
a
relationship
bad
with
dude.
them two, with those two, is fantastic. He
Yes.
just loves her so much, and he's like, I just met you.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like that daughter-father bond is like instant with those two. I mean, it helps that he's not trying to murder her for sure, but
correct.
Well,
That's what
they do this
say.
really
This
well.
was the father that she always wanted.
Yeah.
This is the father he could always had been if he hadn't gotten all crazy over the first contact that they had. So to see this different light of him, and of course he saves the day, right? He was very pivotal in order to saving their planet.
Yeah.
But because then it shift where Essentia is lost her ever loving mind. But of
Right.
course, we're starting to see where like Dal is now helping the Nova Squadron, right? Because now they're going to be attacked by whatever Essentia has created. And then Zero's now losing her body. And so they're discussing with the doctor about how to, what are we going to do about it? And of course, they wanted Jacob's help, which I thought was kind of cute because they were all like, if I'm going to need some help, I want it from you. And he's like, oh, okay. He didn't know how to take it. Now, Jellicoe kind of seemed pleased or maybe annoyed. I don't know. But he seemed pleased, like, oh, Chakotay's alive. Okay, let's go. Jellicoe's such a weird character because he at first was like, oh, we're just going to have to leave him back there and let him die. But now he's like, oh, all right. Well, I guess since now you're here, we'll survive. And of course, he mentions the Romulan evacuation and the androids. This was my little clue when they mentioned the androids. I was like, are they going to mention when the androids destroyed Mars? Which we'll talk about next week.
Oh, yes, I will.
I think
Because I think I was DMing you in real time as I was watching that episode.
I think that was it. Yes, you were.
Yeah.
There was just a lot going on. Now, this creation that Essentia had, because as you saw in the clip, Iltheron was all like, she's creating these things and she's harvesting power and we have no idea how. And here all of a sudden,
And neither did she.
And neither did she. But here's this portal opening up and something's going through. It reminded me of the Shrike with all those pointy ends. you know. This one looked like
Yeah.
more of like a shard of glass, you know, or something, but it reminded me of the Shrike in a lot of ways. I was getting a lot of season 3 of Picard vibes. I don't know if that was done on purpose, um but of
Well, they
course, you
were
know,
they were making both season 3 and this one roughly around the
ye-
same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
2. So season 2 was already started while they were starting season 3, so they were kind of chit
Yeah.
chat trying to make it
Yeah.
intertwine. Which maybe that's where the Shrike got its idea. Like, who knows? I did like so when Dal and the Nova Squadron, so with Majel and her partner, and they're going through and there's I just again Star Wars, X-Wings, TIE fighter vibe, like those drones going around, like I was all like, I'm watching A New Hope right now.
I love starfighters in Star Trek. I think that they're great because
Mhm.
I mean, as much as I love a starship, you know, these little moments with these little starfighters are pretty cool. And yes, it's very Star Wars, but
Yeah.
you know, most other sci-fi franchises have starfighters anyways. You know, like
Yeah.
even Stargate, right? Stargate had them.
Right.
So the F301s, 302s, or something.
Your guess is as good as mine.
But I do like seeing them, and it's something we see so rarely, if almost never, in Trek, right? So it's nice to see.
Right. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed how it was the Voyager and the Protostar, and you know, Chakotay ended up like, I just got you back, but you're gonna have to go do your job. Like they instantly had to go be Starfleet officers and destroy this thing that they don't even know what's going on, right? And they don't even know what they're up against. And even again, Star Wars vibes. So here's the Death Star, right? The strike stars, we'll call it for right now. And the thing is that it's about to beam in and destroy the Voyager and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden the drones just do like a whole Q net, right? It blocked their, I don't know if it was their photon torpedoes or whatever, but it was like block, done. And I was like, that reminded me of Q when they had that net from Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
There was just so much going on, but that's why it was such a good first parter, because in part 2, you know, because at the end of this also, we figure out why Essentia has so much power, and it's because she has Wesley.
Right. For years, right? Or for quite some time.
Well,
we find
it was
out.
interesting because Iltheron was all like, whatever was going inside those domes was like months, right? It was happening really, really fast. He's like, but on the outside is only hours.
Yeah.
So all that stuff that she was harvesting, like, yes, I think he was with her for months, but all that stuff that they were doing, creating all these machines, I don't know how you want to call it, was all coming from Wesley, and it was just coming at a fast pace, which is why I don't think she knew what she was getting herself into.
Right. But you know what? Like, and I think we're jumping ahead to part 2. I don't want to go too much, but I just remember when you find out that Wesley has been there for a while. I'm like, and you're still wearing the same clothes. Like, did she at least wash them for you? Did you get to shower?
Sonic shower. I'm assuming
the same sweater.
We have to hope. Yeah, the same sweater. We have to hope that that's what happened. But no, I think that ending really was like, oh crap, because we weren't sure where Wesley went. I was afraid he actually did die when the planet blew up.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, Beverly's saying in season 3, oh, I lost my son.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And like with the way that all the timey-wimey stuff works, like you can't even be confident, oh, well, he'll be fine, because we see him in season 2 of Picard.
Yeah.
But
when?
Did those events play out before, you know, his cameo in that, did that scene play out before the events of this or after? We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Just like with the appearance of Q in at the end of season 3 of Picard, right?
Mm-hmm. We don't know. Exactly.
That could have all, just because Q's dead, you know, here doesn't mean he's not jumping all around it, right? So
Well, he even said, he's like, why do humans have to be so linear? You know, like, why does it have to be just one straight line? And so, yeah.
which I thought was interesting because of the comment the Board Queen makes in First Contact about humans thinking in such three-dimensional terms, and we just got Alice Krige back for that season. So
yeah, we did. There was just so much going on, and like I said, it was a big surprise that she had Wesley, and I was like, oh great, what's going to happen next? And then I had to keep binging at that point. But I was like, my day's over, so I might as well continue and find out what happened.
I'm starting to get that you really enjoyed this season.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you guessed, but it was an all right season. It was okay.
It's okay.
But you know, I didn't just automatically reach out to Aaron Wolke on Twitter and be like, "Hey, can we have an interview, please?" And he was awesome because he was like, "Sure." But I mean, it was such a good season because it just worked with people who loved Voyager, people who loved Picard, people who loved Beverly and Wesley, and it had it for everybody in this case. So I think it was done very, very well. I was very, very excited. The last 5 episodes that we will talk next week is definitely a roller coaster ride because a lot happens. But let's go ahead and talk about our tricorder rating.
By tricorder.
Is it Destiny's Child playing over that?
Is it Destiny's Child or is it Stevie Nicks?
Touche.
Yep.
Touche.
So
is that Stevie Nicks playing over that?
Or is it Destiny's Child? No. So
almost spit out my drink.
Guys, we've had a long week. We're in the giddy mood. This is why.
So
okay.
Makes it fun.
Tricorder rating. It makes it fun. But tricorder rating, I completely forgot to post this sooner, so I didn't get to the full 24 hours. So I only got 18 votes, which not too bad. But Last Flight of the Protostar 1 and 2 and Cracked Mirror were the whoppers with 44%. And a Triple Cold Quest and Ascension Part 1 were at 6.
Oh.
So I'm wondering which ones are the favorites. It's funny because I want to say that maybe Cracked Mirror actually does probably bump it a little bit. They're probably more of the winners because it's 1 episode versus the other one has 2. And I'm sure that the Last Flight of the Protostar was just picked because Beverly Crusher was in it. That was all the Bev heads voting. But yeah, so that is the lovely little rating there. Of course,
well, I think one thing to add for these polls that you're doing about favorite episodes, at least this is how I feel about it. I joke a lot about stuff that happens in the show, or I'll poke fun at things, but I do that with everything, including myself. But for me, like I look at these polls, I don't think this season had a bad episode, right? I think it was just where they fall on the spectrum of which episode was maybe better, or had more of an impact on the audience, or even specific. I mean, 6% of the people still voted for the Tribbles, right? That means there are people that thought that was the best episode. So personally, I don't think I and I'm sure we'll do a full season kind of how do we feel about it at the end of next week's episode, but I'll kind of prelude that with saying I don't think this season had a bad episode. Just there were better episodes.
Correct. And I even mentioned that last week when we were talking about the Kazon episode. I was like, it wasn't bad. Like it was, it just wasn't.
It's still entertaining, right? It's not. I didn't watch a single episode and go, oh God, next.
Yeah,
not once.
The episode, yeah, because that episode had a reason. It had to keep with Zero's story, so then they can get their new body. So there was a reason for it. It was just a filler episode, and that's what it was for, and stuff like that. It just. I love Wesley Crusher. So that's where my mindset was. But I do, like I was saying, it's been so much fun just seeing all this happening. And like I said, this last 5 episodes were absolutely intense, crazy, and we get more Beverly Crusher. So that made me happy. So next week's episode, as I said, we are talking about Star Trek Prodigy, episode 16 through 20. I try to get everyone in this shot. Unfortunately, Eltheron and I believe Gwen and Bribble are kind of cut out a little bit, but I can't wait to talk about this. This is loads of fun. Actually, Murph got cut out. I think he's behind the reactive review section. It's not my fault. It was the photo. Okay. I'm not being blamed for this. But yeah, so hopefully, weather permitting, Jay will make it. And if you want, that's gonna be, so now you have two running jokes, Jay. We're now going to be talking about Picard's first aid skills and your weather permitting.
Skills, as I air quote.
Skills, air quotes.
Also,
skills.
Can I just say I love the Avengers picture that this is. Like it.
Right. This
I
is why I
love
picked it.
Yeah,
it's pretty
the look on all their faces is that determined. Yeah, we're gonna kick some ass.
It's Avengers assemble.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to finish this off with Jay and talk about the rest of the season because, of course, as you could tell, we've absolutely loved it. And of course, you can find me on Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere you love to listen to your podcasts. You go to TeePublic and buy Crusher Combo merch. You can buy me a coffee by scanning that code on the top right corner, and you can find all this information at crushercombo.com. So, Jay, thank you again for joining me. This was loads of fun.
Always
loads
a
of fun to
pleasure.
the fact that I almost made you spit your drink at your screen. So I think I've won actually today. I've won the internet.
Yes.
So I'm quite proud of myself. I want to thank Ryan and John for joining us on Instagram. It probably cut out because Instagram only does an hour and we're now over 3 minutes. So they don't get to see the very ending. But after that, I really don't have much going on. I know I will be sitting down with Patrick from It's Got Star Trek. So can't wait to show you that. And I'm going to be guesting on Sci-Fi Remnant. And so that's going to be fun. But I might be taking a little bit of a break in September because, doing reactor reviews takes a lot out of you. So might just have a couple weeks off, but hit me up
I get to just join you and my homework is I just have to try to watch the episodes. You've got more work.
You get to show up. Yeah.
Yeah. You're producing the show, not just on it. So
producing, editing, just no big deal. It's fine. It's fine. But anyways, this was lots of fun. See you guys next week. Thank you, Jay. Live long and prosper, guys. Bye.
Crusher out.